Hey everyone, it's Lennon. I got a few minutes, so I thought I would touch on something that I've been like magically obsessed with lately. And I did pose this question in my manifesto. A lot of questions and a lot of philosophy, I would say, in that book. But I posed this question in there, and ever since I wrote it down and then typed it out and tried to get my thoughts out, because if you've been following my channel for a while, I like to do that. I like to put out videos where I'm thinking, where I'm posing questions to myself, to everyone else, and we kind of like philosophize magic, okay? I think the last one I did that would be along the same lines as this is, does magic have a price? The price of magic, right? Now, definitionally speaking, magic can be so many things to so many practitioners. And the concept of magic is so vast. I mean, it can be an energy, it can be a form of like a modality, it can be a power, it can be a source. I think mana pool, right? And so many practitioners that I've read and listened to over the years have varying definitions, right? And however, even if definitionally speaking, there's a million definitions of what a practitioner may see magic as, for me, there would still have to be two versions of magic getting used, right? And if you know of any other verbs, okay, they're verbs. If you have any other verbs, please leave them below, and then we'll kind of, it'll allow me to philosophize a little bit more, because I like to. Pretty please. I've really knocked down magic into two verbs, right? You can wield it, or you can harness it. And it can be it doesn't have to be an or either. You can do them simultaneously. You could do it one or the other. You could do it one and then the other. And it's just, God, it's so confusing. Because I'd always assumed that magic in the mana pool, vitality source that we plug from, okay, from various correspondences and various things. The problem I have with these words is that they don't seem to be, there doesn't seem to be enough verbiage to go around, okay? Like, and I wanted to discuss the two terms, okay? We'll start with wield. Wield. To handle. I think it's an extension, right, of myself. Like wielding a sword, right? Like I'm brandishing a sword, right? I'm wielding it. And it's a tool. It becomes a tool that I wield to use, to enact from the source. And then I thought, okay, well, if I'm wielding it like a sword, like if you've ever read anything by Laurie Cabot, like the witch from Salem, okay, she's got this, I think, book called Power of the Witch or something close to that. Maybe I'll put a picture here of the cover of the book so that you get an idea of what I'm talking about. But inside that book, she talks a lot about like visualization, things like that, and her wand, and how she considers her wand this extension of herself and her magic. So she's not really using the body per se. She has manifested this extension of herself to represent all the versions of herself. Right now I'm paraphrasing, okay, of what I can interpret by her words. But say that she's got the wand. As soon as she puts the wand in her hand, it's magic time. It's go time, right? And it's this wielding outside of herself, right? Like even if she's drawing from some sort of magical source that is within herself, she's not using her physical body. She's using her body, mind, spirit, aura, help from others, and then she like shoves all of those, all the modalities and the models of magic, she shoves, if she uses them, I don't know. Like I said, like information, spirits, energy, the mind, okay? She's shoving all of those models of magic from the source, whichever the source is, into that wand, and then it becomes an extension of herself. And it basically lets her brain, her linguistic mind, form a pattern, which would suggest to her bodily function. Okay, as soon as I pick this up and wield it, okay, and whatever, okay, I do the magical working, whatever the magical working is. It's like it really symbolizes for her the go time. This is my magical self, right? It's almost like she becomes this Laurie Cabot here, and then as soon as she picks up the wand, she's magical Laurie Cabot, right? So that's how I kind of think about it if I were thinking about wielding magic. Now, in terms of wielding something, like I said, it could be a tool. The tools become an extension of it. Now, we all love tools, okay? Witches, occultists, whoever, magicians. We tend to love our tools, right? We tend to love the sacred objects that we have, that we use to perform magic. Whether they hold magic, whether they use to cast magic, convert magic, in whichever thing, our tools can have varying vocations, but we tend to like our tools, and they do become extensions of our magical practice, okay? But I am an advocate for witching with nothing. I'll leave that video below. But when I think about wielding a tool or wielding magic itself, okay, usually like Laurie Cabot, we use this wielding the tool as this extension of magic for the symbolism, for the pure symbolism it would hold as, okay, this represents something now. Like, many people can't just use their index finger, right? Now, I tend to use my hands for magic way more than my tools. But however, whatever, I digress. But so many of us use the sacred symbolism of using a tool, right? As this power extension, like an extension cord. I think about us wielding magic itself. When we use this term, to me it means skill. It means determination. It's an outsourcing of power. Even defense. Like, if you think of wielding a sword, you're not really going to be wielding, okay? Not holding, not like sheathed, okay? I mean, wielding a sword, holding it. It's defense. But it's also skill. Like, you pick up a sword, you're planning on using it, right? So wielding magic is usefulness, it's utilization, support, and extension, okay? Fairies, orbs, right? Just cue magic chime music here, like whatever the hell I could say, okay? Do we wield magic itself? Or would magic only be wielded through extensions of what we deem holders of our magic, say the tools or sacred objects, or like physical, even if I were to like have a wand in my astral world, right? Once I shift over to that level of consciousness and I wield a wand in that consciousness, am I still having to use that wand in that modality only? Does it have to be an extension of myself? Does there need to be that bridge? Okay, that's what I'm getting at. To wield magic means that I can't just lightning in the hands, energy flowing, spirits invoke spirits in the body, and then they're using my hands to or whatever, blast things. Does it have to be external? To me, that's what a wielding would be. It would be an extension, but an external extension of myself and the magic that I choose to use. Again, through whichever definition we choose to deem. Okay. Question mark. Okay. Now, second verb, that I have deemed with magic, okay, is harness. 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 Okay. This is different to me than wielding. Because like I said, I believe that wielding would be like wielding a sword. But harnessing, I think of like, you know those rope traps that trackers and hunters use to trap their prey? It would be like this, you're running through the forest and all of a sudden you get caught up in a net or something. That's kind of what I think of when I think of harness. It doesn't have to be a trap per se. That's just where my brain just went. But it's a way to like hold. It's a way to control. It's a way to give. It's a way to store, I would say. Maybe store. Okay? Because when you think harness, you can even go to like BDSM culture, right? Harnessing can be a brand of safety even. You can harness things to keep them safe. You can harness things in defense. You can harness things that you want to store up. You want to siphon and store up. And you've harnessed something for those reasons. Okay? In magical terms, that would be like container magic. Right? Like box and poppet and spirit vessels. And you're basically like that new book that's coming out. What's that called by Matthew Venus? Ensoiling the Effigy. Oh, cannot wait to get my hands on that book, y'all. Oh, ooh, as someone that does ensoil their, no, not ensoil, ensoul, ensoling, like you're putting a soul into something. As someone that does consider them having a ensouling place in their magic, I can't wait to get that book. But yeah, it's like an ensouling. Like we're putting the magic and controlling it like a genie in a bottle. Okay? To me, it always sounds negative when I say harness the magic. Like I'm stealing it or something. Like it doesn't belong to me. Like if I thought of a genie in a bottle, I'm sad for that genie, even though it's vocation, it's what it's meant to do is live in that container. I still feel sad for the genies of creations. Of myths. It always, yeah, like I said, it just sometimes has a negative, like, I'm trying to control it, especially if you're harnessing something that's not yours. You're harnessing this magic that seems to be so far removed from you that you have to harness it. Again, like the net, like we're raking a net to catch fish. But I'm trying to know the difference between the two. When I harness it, like I said, it could be for protecting. I can harness something to protect it. You know, like when you put a harness on your dog, right? Same thing. You're trying to keep it safe in a way. But it is an aspect of control. Harnessing also has this kind of level of extraordinary circumstances. Okay? In normal terms, whatever you would harness wouldn't just play along. Wouldn't just keel over and play along with you. You would have to harness it in order to control it, in order to use it. It would be like several middlemen to get through before you could actually use magic. And so if we're harnessing magic, I don't necessarily like either the association of harnessing magic, like make magic work for me, because under normal circumstances, that would suggest that it wouldn't work for me, right? Like unless I'm harnessing it, unless I've like pulled it from a source and put it in a nice little bag, okay, like a goldfish in a bag. Otherwise, the goldfish wouldn't be my pet, right? Same thing. And it just sounds nasty. It sounds nasty. So when I say it, wielding and harnessing, to be honest with you. Magic to me, it just is. It's like power. Power is. And yes, we siphon from a source, and the way in which we choose to siphon could suggest like again, positive and negative connotations. But would it only come down, like, here's magic, would it only come down into wielding and harnessing? Oh, got hair. Wielding and harnessing, and it could be only those two. Are we harnessing magic to tie it up, to do our bidding? Again, suggesting that if we don't, it was just going to flow right past us, and we can't. We have to have some way of harnessing it, to catch it, you know? To catch a little bit of it, we'd have to take a bite out of it. Just like, oh, now this little thing of magic is mine, you know? These two terms are hard terms for me too, because they sound almost intrinsically like these would only work for energetic types of magic. But as a lot of us know, there's more models of magic out there. Okay, so if we break it down into I'll say 4. Okay, I'm not going to use a meta model, but if we break it down into the 4, then we could look at those terms separately too. Okay, so energy you can wield and you can harness. How do we harness energy? Think power lines. That's harnessing electricity. Okay, that would be the metaphor I would use when I would think about harnessing energy. Can you wield energy? Be a dowsing rod, right? A little bit more tricky to wield that thing, okay? But again, metaphorically, those would be my metaphors. Let's see. Spirit model, okay? Now, so many of us anthropomorphize our spirits. And that can be bad. I mean, not bad, I don't want to say bad, but that can be kind of like, because when we anthropomorphize our spirits, we tend to give them human qualities and we think of them in human ways. So if I were to tell you that I'm going to wield my spirits, to me, that sounds egregoric. They're an extension of myself, like maybe my like a fetch. It's not all bad, but it's like my spiritual, wielding my spirit would look kind of like a fetch, like an external version of a spirit that I want to work with, right? Harnessing that spirit would kind of look like I've got the thing on a chain, you know, and it would be like I've got Cerberus by the neck, you know, on a big chain, and these 3 collars, right? And he's barking. They are barking at everything coming at me, right? And I'm holding them there like, you know. That doesn't sound good either. So, next model would be psychological, right? It's all happening in your head. All mind is universe. Universe is mind. Mentalism, things like that, okay? Psychological model, can I wield the psychological magic? I can wield the mind because I'm already wielding the mind. But the mind is so more complex than me just living this 3-pound gray matter in my head, okay, in my skull. It's different than that. The mind encompasses so much internally and externally. The synapses alone harbor enough, I'll call them metaphysics, that there would be no way I could wield it all at one time. Okay, they're firing so unconsciously that there'd be no way for me to like properly wield the whole thing, So wielding the mind in all of its capacity would be tricky. Not impossible, but tricky. And then harnessing the mind, I believe, has good, positive vibes to it, because when I'm harnessing the mind, that would be like meditations and altered states of consciousness, getting into those deeper realms of the mind. And I'm, like having a practice that would allow you to grow with that, grow and learn how to do that well. And visualizations, meditations, path walkings, hedge writing, astral travel, lucid dreaming, all of those, all of that is conscious work. So I would say that harnessing the psychological magic, the model of magic, would look a lot like that. It would encompass so much what I would call consciousness magic. So that sounds good to me, right? But then you have information as the fourth model of magic, okay? Information is data, okay? It's information that comes in and we sift, like we become the filter, our whole bodies, not just our brains. And wielding information is good, but it can be exhausting. I'm thinking out loud here. Informational models, and in terms of magic, suggests that there's a lot of magical information getting poured, a lot of data getting poured and stored into our mind and into our body and into the spirit of us, okay? And it works. And we'd have to become a filter because we don't use 90% of our brains, okay? And so we would have to become this filter to analyze. And a lot of the times we do this on unconscious levels. We analyze this information to a point where it's just, again, unconsciously getting stored in filing cabinets in our brain, you know? And maybe we'll never use that information. But wielding it would be like having the actual filing cabinet, you know? Places of storage for that information to go. Or being able to let certain information go that you know isn't helpful. Maybe. It would be about this, like my filing cabinet can't be like this overfilled filing cabinet with lots of magical papers everywhere, okay? It would have to be somewhat organized, and I'd have to like go through every once in a while and throw out crap that doesn't help, or that's outdated, or that, again, is not relevant. And I'm telling you, if you go down and dig down into your psyche, I'm sure that there is some unrelevant shit floating around down there. You can just toss it out. It's what letting it go in magic means anyway. Let that crap go that doesn't matter anymore, you know? Harnessing. Now, harnessing is like a control tactic, right? We're netting it up. And information means that harnessing it would mean that we want to gain information, that we want to gain more and more. This knowledge is power mindset, which is my mindset. Knowledge is power. Because if I'm wielding it right, then as long as I'm gaining, I can filter. So I would have to work in tandem with both of these for the informational model of magic. So lots of new data, lots of data magically, okay, magically speaking, is coming in. And it comes in and I want to know. And then I become this sieve, okay? Let go what doesn't serve me, okay? And then put it in the filing cabinet. I would have to work in tandem with both. And if I really thought about it, I would have to work in a wielding and a harnessing for all the models. I would have to work in tandem in some kind of balance for the magic to ebb and flow right. Because if it's flowing, then you have to harness it. It's like putting a dam up, right? And then when it's dammed up, you can wield it. You can drink from a cup, so to speak. So it would be about the balance. But are there any other verbs? Are there any other verbs for how we're utilizing it? Their utilization. What are the utilization verbs of magic? And again, I pose a lot of these questions in my Magic Manifesto. So if you're someone that likes to philosophize magic and look at it like a sentient thing over here, and you kind of want to work on having a relationship with magic, not just using magic all the time, not just wielding it and harnessing it, then pick up this, because I think it's really nice for us to kind of chat about what we think about these things. Because I don't necessarily believe that they're just beliefs that we're harnessing and wielding about magic. That magic can be something totally different than what we believe in it. what we believe it is. It's so much bigger than any definition to me. And philosophizing with it and against it. And finding balance through most modalities and applications. I think that's important. I think we need a lot more personal gnosis. I think we need a lot more questions. And I think we need to get out of the paranoid stage of critical thinking and learn how to critical think without the expense of paranoia. So, okay. Let me know your thoughts. I hope everyone's having a magical day. Much love.